What's up, guys? I sat down this week for a morning meeting with San Diego Fire Engineer Casey Martin. Casey has an inspiring story of going from growing up with next to nothing to now where he's firmly on the path towards financial independence. Casey credits getting his mindset right in order to help him achieve his goals. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hey, Casey, thanks for meeting me here in the bullpen.
Thanks for having me on. I'm psyched. I've been looking forward to this day. We're finally able to make it happen.
Yeah, same here, man. I'm really grateful that you took time out of your busy day to sit down with us here and give us some information. What's been going on in your life recently with this coronavirus and all that?
Wow, what hasn't been going on? It's just been crazy. As you know, we've been a lot of Zoom meetings. That's definitely been happening. Surprisingly, I would think that people would just be shutting down in terms of the real estate market and hunkering down, but that's not what all the stats and showings and pendings and closings are saying also. So it's just very interesting times, and I'm sure we'll get more into that later on the podcast, but very, very interesting times. Never seen anything like it. No one has.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think everybody's having to just pivot and figure out how to do this thing. It's like you and I sitting here on a Zoom call. We never would have considered that even just a few months ago. So it's
Absolutely.
Everybody, part of dealing with this crisis is having to adapt and having to maneuver in other ways. So if there's a silver lining in any of this, maybe that's it, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. My biggest thing too is it's like, I've been through one of these. We've been through one of these, and we've been investors through one of these in 2008, right?
Right.
And it's so easy to let your mindset go to that place where it's like, oh my God, I'm afraid. Like maybe everything, the sky's falling and all this stuff's happening. And that's when you want to be out there striking, is when there are opportunities. Like a lot of investors in real estate, especially, have been waiting for something like this, for some sort of correction to flush out the novices, to provide more opportunity. We've got historically low interest rates. I mean, we have a real opportunity that we're coming up on.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's important to note is that these are natural parts of the cycle, and
absolutely,
and it's needed, right? They call them corrections because it corrects the natural market. So it is an important thing. So, well, I guess without further ado, man, you ready to get in your first alarm?
Let's do this.
All right, awesome. So, first alarm on our fire department is 4 engines and a truck, but here at the firehouse, we talk about 4 questions and 1 piece of advice. So for you, you're first in, so I need a size up. Who you are, where you work, and how long you've been doing it.
Awesome. Casey Martin, 16 years, San Diego Fire Rescue. And what a 16 years it's been. I'm so thankful and grateful for this job. What an amazing, amazing foundation it's provided me. So my background is I grew up in a real estate family. I came from nothing, living in a closet with my sister, barely surviving on food stamps. My dad left at a young age, and my mom wanted better for us and our family. And so she hustled, man. She worked really, really hard. She got a real estate license and eventually ended up getting her broker's license. And that kind of thrust me into the world of real estate. I started hustling real estate agents' cars back when you hopped in the car and my mom would drive people around, and they had the old pull-out cell phones, and we were the keepers of the information. My mom was the keeper of the information, right? She had to go to Caravan and see what houses were on the market. Obviously, that's all changed 100% with technology. But I was hustling, washing cars with my best friend whose dad was the broker of the office. So I grew up in that. My mom started investing in real estate, and she eventually, worked her way up and kept buying properties. And I grew up with a hammer in my hands. I mean, my job was like, it was just after sports, after school, I came home and I worked. If I wanted a new BMX bike, I worked for it. If I wanted a new snowboard, I worked for it. And it was $5 an hour, and I was working with framers and drywallers and digging, ripping, tearing, painting, sanding old historic homes in Northern California. So fast forward, I'm on the job after, going to college and doing all this stuff. And I obviously, at the time I hated it but what it was doing was teaching me work ethic and hustle. And so with that in mind, I wanted to start buying houses as soon as I was financially stable enough to do so. So that's what I did. I ended up getting my real estate license after, I don't know how long I was on the job, but got my real estate license. My wife got hers as well. She also grew up in a real estate family. So she's been licensed for 12, 14 years. I believe I've been licensed for 5 or 6, but kind of acting as an agent for quite a bit longer and as an investor for quite a bit longer.
Wow, that's an amazing story, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. You're talking about, having to grow up with some hardship and to really have to grind things out. How has that upbringing, or how has that, childhood experience translated into your career as a firefighter? I mean, we have to grind, we have to go through some really hard things. Did you find, or did you recognize that there was any parallels there?
Oh, 100%, man. 100%. God, where do I even start with that? I mean, I'm so huge on personal development, and I always have been. It wasn't until, honestly, Kyle, I went to Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins. I started on that tour because I was looking for answers that I couldn't solve in my life. And, I found myself living, it was like that song, is this my house? Is this my beautiful wife? Is this my beautiful car? How did I get here? Right. And I'm looking around at my beautiful wife and family. And I'm like, and I still wasn't happy, man. I still wasn't happy. And that was because I hadn't really dealt with my mindset. I had a lot of unresolved issues. Those issues helped me become the man I am today. And I'm so grateful for them now because I can reflect on them and go, wow, this made me who I am. It made me the hardest worker. I came from nothing, man. I had to work hard for everything I've ever had, right? I didn't have a family to fall back on with a bunch of money, right? I didn't have I just spent my whole life grinding, but that gets exhausting after a while. You got to get to the point where you can reflect on that and go, okay, it's got me this far, but how am I going to be happy from this point moving forward? Now that I have this stuff and now that I have the opportunities, how am I going to be happy going forward? So mindset, man, and always working on self-improvement and your mindset, to me, is everything. It's everything. And so that's why I spent so much time and money on relationship boot camps to make my personal relationship better, to not sabotage myself, right? All these things that we never really get taught. That's why I've spent so much time and money in self-improvement and these retreats.
Oh, that's amazing. That's something that I think everybody could take full advantage of as well. You mentioned something about the mindset piece in terms of where we are in the market right now, and people are thinking, oh, the sky is falling and all this stuff. Do you think that because of the way you had to grow up and knowing how tough things can actually be, that it helps you kind of push through the tough times you're seeing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. It definitely helps me with my mindset. But what helps me more than anything is going through this in 2008, right? So it was a totally different deal. It was a real estate caused collapse. So we saw instant price reductions. We saw instant opportunities. And at the same time, paralleled on our fire department, as you know, we also entered brownouts. So I had purchased a house during brownouts. I could barely afford my mortgage. We were struggling.
And for people that don't work for San Diego Fire Department, can you just explain what brownouts were?
Yeah, so we were shutting down all of our truck companies basically, and so what that meant was no more overtime. Essentially, we're not staffing up those extra rigs, so there's less positions. There's no overtime. We rely on overtime at our department because we're the bottom 20% paid in California, and we have been for over a decade now. So we rely on that overtime big time to pay the bills. So when you look at your base salary, it just wasn't enough to really take advantage of these opportunities that happened in 2009, 10, 11, 12. And so during those years, my wife and I were going, oh my God, look at these opportunities out here. This is amazing. But I couldn't take advantage of them because I didn't have the dry powder. I didn't have the cash, right? And banks weren't lending money, right? So it was like kind of a double-edged sword and this double whammy. Like I knew there was opportunity out there. I knew that you could double your money eventually, which you could on anything you bought. If you bought a $500,000 house in 2009, 2010, it's worth $1 million now. A lot of them. If you bought $1 million house, it's more than likely worth $2 million,
Right.
leading up to the peak of this market. but you had to have money. And like I said, they weren't lending. And so now we're in a financial collapse, right? With the real estate market that's going to kind of follow behind that. So we're still waiting to see what the effects are, but interest rates are all-time low. They're so backed up on these low interest rates with inventory that they're not going to lower the rates until they work their way through that inventory. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, that
So
makes
it's
a lot of sense.
still a prime.
So if I'm a firefighter that's interested in getting involved here, or a first responder interested in getting involved here, how could I take advantage of these literally historically low interest rates? What makes me an attractive borrower to a lender?
That's a great question. It's your stability. You know, if you own a bank, who do you want to loan money to right now? Who's going to give you the highest likelihood of getting paid back on that loan? It's going to be people with what the government's calling, you know, essential businesses, right? And we're, as first responders, you're an essential business. Any essential business, though, not just first responders. I mean, if you have a stable job and you know, you've been fortunate enough to stay employed and be making money, then you're a high candidate to get these loans at low interest rates, you know, and combined with that, you're going to have other people that unfortunately are like losing their businesses. You know, they're losing their businesses. The devastation from this is going to be, we don't know what it's going to be, but we know it's going to be significant. And unfortunately, that's going to be an opportunity for the people that do have stable income still.
In real estate, in general, where are you seeing the biggest changes, the biggest shifts, and maybe some potential opportunities down the line?
Well, right here, hyper local, I would say vacation rentals, right off the top of my head. Okay. So we got low interest rates. That's still, they're just coming down. But short-term rentals has been a big thing. We had a short-term rental. We had 2 short-term rentals, and we had to put long-term tenants in them both. Okay. Because there's nobody, we lost about $38,000 in revenue the first 2 weeks in COVID-19 from people canceling reservations. So that's happening all across San Diego right now. So if you live in a place that has this happening, look for these opportunities, because you have 2 choices right now. You got 3 choices. You can hunker down, try to wait it out, right, until reservations come back, but then you're going to have all the competition from the hotels, right. Or you can put long-term renters in there, or you can sell your place. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, maybe the long-term effect on this is there's a lot less vacation rentals too, because they put long-term renters in there. So if you're not vacation renting your house, that drove the prices up here in San Diego significantly, short-term rentals. So I think you're going to see some softening there, some opportunities there. And then I think the other part is just to keep your eyes out for people who are needing to sell, not wanting to sell, but needing to sell.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like they're over leveraged, and they can't get a long-term tenant in there if they got the short-term thing going on. And what I love about what you said, man, which really is applicable to first responders, is we're professional problem solvers, right? People create all these problems. We got to come in there and try to solve them. It sounds like what you did is you had this problem with the short-term rental and you figured out a way to make it work. You just figured out a different avenue. You pivoted and now are making it work in a different way. And I think that's what I really love about real estate is you can be creative and you can impact the way your investment performs, unlike the stock market where you don't really have any control. So I really do like that approach, man. Why are you, it's obvious in talking to you, everybody that comes in contact with you knows that you're passionate about this. You are fully into it. Why? Where does that come from? Is it the upbringing? Is it the mindset? Is it just the hustle and grit you learned in the fire academy? Where does that all come from?
It comes from growing up with nothing. You know, it comes from and it comes from wanting to do better as a parent, as a husband, as a father to my kids and my family than was done with me, right? That's where the heart comes from. That's where the soul comes from. That's where the hustle comes from, right? But what I love about real estate, you kind of had 2 questions there, and I want to answer the other part. Is what I love about real estate is that it's a leveraged investment, you know? So we have a really nice balanced thing, right? And so if you work for a big company or you work as a first responder, maybe you have a pension, maybe you have a 401k, doesn't really matter. All that money's going into a managed account, and these financial people are going to manage that money, and it just goes in there, reduces your taxable income. It's all great, it's groovy. But the way I see it is like, that's all taken care of. I don't have that much control over that, right? It's going to go up and down, and hopefully by the time I retire, it's up, right?
Right.
But real estate, I can go buy a $500,000 investment, or let me give you my first house I ever bought. I bought it for $460,000. I bought it with the FHA 3.5% down. That was $16,500. Okay, so I bought a $460,000 investment for $16,500.
So
okay?
Here in San Diego, what does that buy you? It's a
It's
$460,000 house in other parts of the country might look like a mansion, right? So here in San Diego, what does 460 grand get you?
I tell you what it bought me at the time, at the bottom, it was a good time to buy a house. It's 2009, okay? And it bought me the worst house in the nicest neighborhood, which I'm a huge, huge fan
Perfect.
of. And that's what I always look for. That's what I always try to get my buyers into, the worst house in the nicest neighborhood. That's what it bought me at the time. Currently, it's going to buy you a townhouse in mid-city.
Right.
Or if the further you go east, obviously the prices drop a little bit, but it's not going to buy you much.
Right.
But my whole point is that, I put down $16,500, but I'm making equity on $460,000. If I want to make a return on $460,000 in the stock market, what do I have to do? I got to put in $460,000 of my hard-earned money.
Right.
It's not a leveraged investment, right? We're not investing on leverage. Like, the key here is that in real estate, we can invest being leveraged, right? Like, I'm making money. If I buy $1 million investment property, a duplex, a fourplex, I can make money in equity on that by adding value to the property, by pulling more in rent, by remodeling the property, right? And then I can run that price up in rent. That's going to give me a higher cap rate. I can sell it for more. Mm-hmm. And then not only am I making money on $1 million, not my down payment of, let's just call it $100,000, $200,000. I'm making equity on $1 million, and I'm then rolling it over to my next investment without paying income. And in fact, I'm depreciating that.
Yeah.
So that's where it really gets cool.
Yeah, no, exactly. And all those things you're talking about are just forcing the appreciation by, if you get tenants in there, okay, you can increase rent slowly over time. If you go in there and fix it up, you're just forcing that appreciation where we can control those things. And on top of that, what our job really lends itself to is going in there and doing some of this work yourself. If you buy a place local, we know a lot about building construction. We know a lot about, we're hands-on type of people. So we can go in there and put a little sweat equity into this thing and really make that thing grow. So, and that's not even counting the depreciation.
Right. That's the really cool part that I never really understood until I started owning rentals, is the depreciation part. Right. I mean, you show a gain in your stocks or your bonds or whatever, and you're going to pay money on that gain. But we're showing a loss year after year after year, and really it's gaining equity. Yeah.
No, what a brilliant investment path, and it sounds like that's exactly why you're on it. Well, what would be one piece of advice that you could give people, whether it's having to do with mindset, having to do with who knows, a book that you've read that got you set down this path, or something that people can take and hang on to and get them going down the right way?
That's why I want to take a quick second and just give you props, Kyle, because what you've created here is giving, everybody an opportunity to research and learn, right? It's another learning platform. There's so many great learning platforms out there. And yours is one of them. And it's just, it gives everybody a vehicle and a platform to just ask questions and say, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, how does this work? And everybody can chime in and give their 2 cents, and together at the end of it, we all learn, right? So I would say, number one, educate yourself, right? Educate yourself. There's lots of great platforms out there just like yours, right? But I'm big on mindset. You're never, ever truly going to be happy at what you do unless your mindset's right. And so I would say, for me, the biggest game changer has been really getting after doing the work on my personal development and self-improvement, because that, if you have the right mindset, like you're gonna be successful, period, at whatever it is, right?
That's something that you can control.
You can control. And like, right, like what makes someone happy versus sad? It's like we have this blueprint of how we want our lives to be, right? Like you want your life a certain way. Like you want to be a good soccer player, you want to be a good family man, and if you're meeting those expectations as a blueprint that you set, then generally you're happy, right?
Right.
But if you're not meeting those expectations of yourself, that's when you find yourself kind of asking questions and going, well, wait a minute, like what do I need to correct here to be fulfilling my destiny, to be really getting after what I want to be doing in life?
Yeah, no, man, that certainly rings true. And I think it's applicable to everyone. You know, we can always try to improve. We can always try to just get one more step towards a goal, right? They talk about the accumulation of marginal gains on your path towards success. Whatever your vision of success is, just take one step today towards that, and another one tomorrow. And then eventually over time, you make your way towards that goal. And I think that's a really powerful thing, man. And looks like with that,
accumulation of marginal gains. I love that.
Yeah.
That's got to be in the thread, man. That's the quote of the day right there. I love that.
Yeah. Well, I can't take credit for it, but that's the way I think about things, right? I don't need to.
It's so true.
It's like we're on our path towards success. We're not looking for this explosive thing to happen, right? We're not looking for a levy to take place. We're looking for maybe today it's just in an incipient phase,
right?
And it's going to slowly grow as long as you make it grow,
right? And you know, another way to look at that, Kyle, that I love is like look, do 1% today. The next day, do 1%. If you do 1% change every single day, you do a 360 at the end of the year. You don't even, you know, my old me is not who I am today. Right. And it's just from those little incremental changes, you know. And we have I just really want to throw out there too, like we have such an opportunity right now for us to come together on platforms like this and have these discussions, your bullpen discussions. And we also have the ability to pool our stable income. We might not have a lot of cash, but I have a lot of opportunities come across my desk that are fabulous opportunities right here in San Diego, that we can all make money from if we all chip in a little bit, get on the same page, have the same mindset, and we buy these things together. Pooling money is something that I think has been way underutilized on our job in particular.
Yeah, I actually couldn't agree more, man. And I think with that, we got knocked down on your first alarm. So with what you just said in mind, where can people find out more about you?
Okay. Yep. So, this hand is mirrored. Hey, so shoot me a text at this number. So that's a smart number. And so I can easily just put it right into my database. And then I can stay in touch with you about opportunities that come across my desk to invest in. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have. So the best number to text me at, and text me your first and last name and your email address to 619-573-4258. You see my handle on there for Facebook, Casey Martin RE, Casey James Martin on Insta. That's my website, casey@caseyandrose.com, or makeyourmovesandiego.com. They go to the same place. So yeah, there's this has been great, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll link all those things in the show notes too for people that aren't watching but maybe just listening to the podcast. But yeah, Casey, I want to just thank you, man, for taking time out of your busy day, your busy life. You got a lot of things going on, and people are definitely taking notice. So again, man, thanks for meeting me here today.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, thanks again to Casey Martin for joining me here in the bullpen. Man, Casey's got an inspiring story of somebody who grew up with no safety net, no belay system in place. And it taught him to become laser focused at whatever it is he's trying to do. And you can see that in him as a firefighter and in his real estate business. He is laser focused on achieving his goals. If you'd like to learn more about Casey, he's on Facebook, Casey Martin RE, on Instagram, Casey James Martin, or on their website, makeyourmovesd.com. If you'd like to know more about us, we're on Facebook at The FIREhouse. That's f.i.r.e house. On Instagram, the _fire_house. or on LinkedIn, the Firehouse Investors. If you learned something from this video and you'd like to see more, please like, share, and subscribe. But no matter what you do, take this information, go out there, and get some. Station F.